Good afternoon and welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me at the market site in Times Square, we have Charles Ryan. He's the CEO of Neurotrope, and we're going to take a look at a new approach to combating Alzheimer's disease. Charles, it's great to have you with us at market site. And before we get into what Neurotrope is doing specifically, this stat is, I don't know if it's impressive or what it is, but Alzheimer's is to surpass U.S. Defense Department budget at $1 trillion by 2050.
Yeah. I think Alzheimer's disease is like the tsunami out in the ocean, but it hasn't made landfall yet. As we continue to get an older population and without a treatment to help this patient population, we will see 14 million patients costing the government $1 trillion by 2050. Even now, we have almost 6 million individuals with Alzheimer's disease, and the costs are staggering. So, and that doesn't include the cost for families and caregivers in out-of-pocket, which is probably another $1 trillion.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean, the economic fallout from Alzheimer's disease, as you had mentioned before, it's not specific to medicine and care. It trickles all the way down.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's really a disease state that I think is one of the greatest crises right now in healthcare that we really need to address. And we're excited at Neurotrope to be part of that battle.
Well, let's learn more about some new therapies that are available.
Sure. So unfortunately, you know, the research lately was really focused on these plaques in the brain, this A-beta oligomers. And data, especially a Biogen study that was announced a few months ago, has not proved beneficial. So we really do not have any new therapeutics for patients. And in fact, there's no drug on the market today that's really approved to treat Alzheimer's disease, to make a patient better. There are drugs that help slow the progression or that help various side effects of the disease. But we are still a long way from actually giving a drug to a patient that has Alzheimer's disease that will actually make them better.
Okay, so at Neurotrope, you have the only drug in development for moderate to severe Alzheimer's disease.
That's right.
Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so that the category of patients that we're pursuing are patients who actually have Alzheimer's disease. Many of the studies, including the large Biogen study that was recently announced, are much earlier in time, mild cognitive impairment. So we are the only company that's actually actively pursuing a clinical therapeutic for patients with moderate to severe Alzheimer's disease. So that's one of the reasons, not just we at Neurotrope, but even the scientific community is very, very excited about our research.
Right. So how is this different? You brought Namenda to market while at Forest Labs. How is Neurotrope's drug different than what you've already brought to market?
So Forest Laboratory, there was a team of people at Forest that brought Namenda to the market, and Namenda was approved to slow the progression of the disease, and that was 15 years ago. And so 15 years ago, it was a great advancement in Alzheimer's disease because there really wasn't a drug, and it had a novel target, a novel mechanism of action. So 15 years ago, that was a really great therapeutic. What we are doing that's different is we are actually looking to make patients with Alzheimer's disease better. So we are actually targeting a restoration of synaptic networks. So our goal is to be able to provide a therapeutic to individuals who have Alzheimer's disease in which they actually have improvement in cognitive function.
Is there anything out there to prevent Alzheimer's? Are we even there yet?
We're not there yet. I mean, certainly, and one of the things that is exciting in the field of research is that people are pursuing a wide variety of targets. So people are really looking at all different ways to address this disease. I think healthy lifestyle is always critical. Much the way when people would ask, well, how do you prevent cancer, let's say 15 years ago? You know, good diet, good exercise. I think inflammation is always a factor in a lot of different disease states. It probably is a factor in Alzheimer's disease. But we don't know enough about what causes Alzheimer's disease to say to somebody, do this and it'll help prevent Alzheimer's.
And this is why the medical community is always enforcing to go for your physicals, because when you get blood work done and urinalysis done, if they find deficiencies or too much of something in your blood, there's no better way to start, at least preventing or figuring out ways to counteract.
That's right, and that's right. And if you look at, if you look at healthcare, you look at cardiovascular disease. Many years ago, that was fatal. We've come a long, long way. Cancer, we have many people living with cancers or being cured of cancers, and even HIV has really advanced dramatically. Alzheimer's disease, unfortunately, is a disease state that, although there's been a great deal of work and we've learned many things from these studies, so all these studies are very valuable, and there are targets like the A-beta oligomer, the plaques in the brain. Those are a very worthwhile target to pursue, for sure. But I think now that we have so much research about that particular target, it's pretty clear that we're going to have to think about other ways. Our research actually has been going on for 25 years. So we've been at this path of restoring synaptic networks for a very, very long time. And we have clinical results that are going to be coming out this quarter. So very soon we will be announcing a phase 2 clinical study in moderate to severe Alzheimer's disease. So that is a big deal.
I mean, when you think about that number, 1 trillion by 2050, even though you might have a cognitive disease, people are still living longer because physically they might be fine.
Correct.
And that's why it's so expensive.
That's exactly right. And that's why, as a government and as a body of citizens, it's not a choice about finding a treatment for Alzheimer's. We have to go after Alzheimer's disease. And as I said, what we're excited about is we have a novel mechanism of action, we have a unique patient population, and we have that data coming out this quarter, so very soon, and we're hopeful.
All right, well, great. We look forward to having you back.
I appreciate the
data. Thank you
Jill,
so much
thank
for
you
joining
so
us.
much.
And thank you for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.